Okay, well, let's get started. This is the 2015 budget hearing for the Geauga County Park District. Michelle is here.
Got some handouts here for at least the people at the table.
You've never been to one of these, have you?
I don't believe I have.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
You've been to one.
I've been to,
Yeah, years ago.
boy, I don't remember any either.
Yeah, one.
I enjoyed the annual budget meeting with the commissioners so much, I thought I was
Geauga County Park District. Beginning with the general fund. Their budget indicated they would have a beginning cash balance January 1st, 2015 of $5,848,297.88. Their budget estimated revenue in the amount of $6,579,884.42. We are going to certify exactly the same. Estimated expense of $6,443,703.54 would leave an ending balance December 31st, 2015 of $5,984,478.76. In the construction fund, estimated beginning balance in 2015 is $3,404,601.83. Estimated revenue of $514,500. We will certify the same. Estimated expense of $875,000 gets an ending balance of $3,044,101.83. In the retirement reserve account, the beginning balance of $82,464.01. Estimated revenue of $50. No expense. An estimated cash balance at the end of the year of $82,514.01. No debt. And total millage for tax year 2014 for collection in 2015 is a 1986 levy for 0.7 mils, a 1 mil levy passed in 2000, and a 1 mil levy that was passed last year for a total of 2.7 mils.
So they have presented us with a resolution.
Well,
I actually
just a letter, there's a couple things. May I speak?
Absolutely.
We've been very fortunate to have good fiscal management by the board this year. The Park District obviously is operating in the black. It's my understanding from last year's meeting that Auditor Geauga or Treasurer Hitchcock brought to Mr. Curtin's attention that we continue to, for want of a better phrase, hoard cash. It is my understanding of the Ohio Constitution that public bodies are entitled to raise funds and tax revenues for the operations of a reasonable reserve, but not to hoard funds. If you look at where the Park District is today, it is managing to keep up all its services, all its naturalist programs, and is still, based on its budget, operating with excess revenues. And the thought process to ask the Budget Commission, is it feasible to examine and possibly suspend that 1986 levy that runs through 2025, which would result in a tax savings to the taxpayers of $830,000. And then if in 2019, when one of those 1 mil levies comes off, that levy can either be reinstated, the 1986 levy, which has a longer life, and the Park District can look at any additional revenue needs it needs at that time. Or if it continues its good fiscal management, even look at operating with a much reduced levy than the current 2.7 mils. That's the question.
Michelle, is construction fund paid out of your general?
We move money from the general fund to the construction fund.
Can you move money back?
Yes, you can.
You can.
Well, Budget Commission can.
You request us to do that.
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. So here's a concern. You've got $3 million supposedly in the bank at the end of this year in construction.
Mm-hmm.
You're only going to spend $800,000 versus income of $500,000. That's a swing of $370,000.
May I speak to that?
Sure.
Sure, okay. We are currently in the middle of a strategic planning process. Those two projects, which were identified at $875,000, they've already been prior to the strategic planning process. As we are involving ourselves in the strategic planning process, we may have additional land improvement projects that we would be adding next year and for future years. However, we're at the end of the cycle. Of course, the executive director left, and we have new leadership and a new director in place. So we are looking at a strategic plan that would be finished in 2015 that may increase this $875,000 to additional funds as additional projects are determined.
I'm the last guy to encourage people to spend money or departments to spend money.
Right.
But at this swing of only $300,000, that's a 10-year cushion that you have built in. So I encourage those monies.
That would actually not. The capital improvement, you can't do that with. This particular fund, 1 year it might be $3 million, 1 year it might be $5 million that you might be spending. It's completely dependent on projects. Now, if you were up here in the general fund, you could say that. This is more of a operating type fund. This is a project-based account. You can't designate.
Where does it
1
get
year,
that money?
3 year,
Gets it
5
out of
year.
the general fund?
We move money from the general fund to fund that account.
So the board passes a resolution taking general fund money, moving
Yes.
it to that.
That'd be
So the board could just stop doing that if it felt like it was
Absolutely, and we
overfunding it.
actually have done that in this last year. In the 2 previous years, we moved $1.5 million over. This past year, we moved $500,000. This year, we moved $500,000 over, and we plan on moving only $500,000 again next year until we get the strategic plan in place and we understand what the residents of Geauga County want, what capital improvements they would like to see in our parks as they have approved these levies, and then we'll go based on that to spend down some of this particular $3 million carryover that we currently have. So this fund is really heavy on capital projects.
But it only shows expenses of under $1 million.
That's correct, because that's all we have planned at this time. We are
Okay.
in the middle of the strategic planning process.
Okay.
So you contemplate adding more
Absolutely.
capital
Absolutely.
projects this
And you
year.
will see that, even this year you've seen that we're on budget amendment number 7 already, where we've realized that there's been projects that need to be added in. So yeah, absolutely, that will more than likely go up next year.
But as all of this $3 million comes out of the general fund,
Not all of it. You also receive donations that go directly into that fund.
well, and you also have estimated revenue of $500,000.
That'd be correct.
Is that those contributions?
$500,000 of that would be the transfer from the general fund. $14,500 is estimated to be revenue, which could be donations and others.
So basically about $500,000, though, comes out of the general fund.
That's what we've designated for next year. That is a complete board decision. 1 year it might be 1.5, 1 year it might be 0. Next year,
But
we've
at the end of
estimated
this year,
500.
you're going to have $3 million in that account.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Well, if the board doesn't, you can't predict what capital. I noticed that the board has accelerated putting in more amenities at the parks, so people can use.
Right. We are
So,
on track for the $3 million. If something were to come up and be a large project, or if we don't receive some of the donations that we did plan, for instance, our observatory park, the Nassau Station, we had budgeted or estimated that we would receive $652,000 for the 2014 year, and we are actually short of that currently. We're hoping to.
But your estimate today is, for next year, is to still have $3 million.
We will be
left.
in the range of $300 million. The $3 million, sorry.
300
That would be great. $3 million. to start the
$300
year.
million. I got to get to the wrong company or something.
My concern in raising this, all of these monies in your construction fund come out of the general fund.
Not 100%, no. Because you have the donations that go directly into that account.
And that's $14,000.
That is the estimate for next year. This year it was much larger.
Okay.
Okay.
And you don't put that money into the foundation?
The foundation is a separate entity. They are not the park district. The foundation may receive donations and transfer them to the park district just as any other donor would, but they are not they are not a government entity.
So you take donations into the foundation as well as into the park
It's
district?
depending upon what the patron or the individual would like to do. They have that option to
They have the
donate to who
option.
they want to donate to.
Okay, so $14,000 out of the $3 million is from private individuals.
That is our estimate for next year.
That's
Okay.
just your placeholder.
That would be correct.
So wouldn't it be more honest, accounting-wise, to put this $3 million back in and run this as a zero fund?
Not necessarily, because that would tie our hands. If we have projects, as Mr. Flay said, that come up and we would like to do them quickly, we would not be able to do that.
Well, you could leave $500,000 in there.
I
Because
mean,
you haven't spent over $500,000 in the last several years.
Well, I could see them not wanting to have to run the budget commission every time they want to put in
Yes.
3 soccer fields.
Okay, so you're making $1 million.
Well, the current,
Why would you tie your hands at $1 million versus 2 versus 3? What is your determining factor for that? I mean, why would you say that?
Because sooner or later, you're going to get, right now, you're at $9 million. If you
Mr.
look-
Klehout, what do you carry in the auditor's general fund? As a
I don't know that
carryover?
number right off the top of
And
my
what does the
head.
county commissioners carry?
you ask the county commissioners, don't ask us. We're the
Right.
budget
We're
commission.
the
So
budget
what
committee.
I'm saying is it's smart fiscal stewardship to have funds available when needed.
Not a
If you're talking
400%.
about $3 million in a capital land improvement fund, one project can be upwards of $2 or $3 million. Our Nassau Observatory project will be in that range. So no, it is not
Where's
bad fiscal
Nassau,
stewardship.
where's that project going to be?
That is currently being designed. We don't have the numbers on that because it's part of the strategic planning process.
Okay.
When we get those numbers, they will be added in next year. That's why I said this $875,000 is just an estimate and a beginning number on the projects that we have planned already. $3 million in a capital improvement fund is not, in my opinion, a bad number to have. If you're planning ahead for future projects, you want to have a savings. You don't want to have to go out to constituents, out to load money. We've planned ahead. This is money that over the years we've saved in our capital and land improvement fund so that we can do future projects for the residents because they have said to us that they want us to do these projects. And that's why we're going through the strategic planning process right now.
I don't have a big problem with that. I mean, the money can flow back. I mean, I understand your guys' point, but the money can flow back. I don't have a big problem with that. And certainly I wouldn't expect you to run the budget commission for an amendment
Thank you.
every time you want to do a project. You know, it'd be one thing if that money was trapped there some way, somehow, but
Exactly.
I'm not.
But they've only done it 7 times this year, so I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I don't have a big issue with that. I mean, obviously the cash balances are the issue to me. But again, it looks like, I mean, from what's in front of us, and that's what I guess I want a little bit of clarification on. I mean, what's in front of us, it looks like, which I don't know if you guys ever remember this happening, but it looks like you're coming to us asking to actually suspend collection of a levy and return money to the taxpayers, which I commend. So I guess as a board member, I would ask you, what's the board's intention? And the only reason I'm asking is, you know, I got a call from a reporter that was at the meeting this morning, and I don't know that he gave me an accurate accounting of what went on, but is the board asking us is the board wanting to suspend collection of the levy, or does the board? I kind of got a sense that the board member who was doing the talking this morning feels that we don't have the authority to do this. I mean, ultimately, our authority rests in we won't approve your budget. So, that's where the authority would be, that you're carrying too much money, so we're just not going to approve your budget, then you can't collect any taxes.
At which point it would go to the tax commission, and you guys would probably be involved because you have to approve at least some point of a budget so we can operate.
I think the lawyer for the board needs additional time to understand the mechanics of requesting the suspension of collection. And in fact, if you see the letter that's been submitted by the board, it's sort of asking also to give an opinion from that side of the table as to exactly what can be done as far as suspending collection and how is the legal process to follow that.
We've suspended collections of other townships on their letter to us, stating they wanted
They've
suspended.
passed a resolution.
They passed a
Their trustees
resolution.
have passed resolutions to
So
either reduce a levy collection or suspend it until further.
I guess our question to you is, when do we have until to do this? By September 1st, as you mentioned
Yeah.
in the previous time?
Correct.
We would like the opportunity to take the time to review and put the numbers together and see where we're at before we come to you and say, let's suspend it 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. We don't know right now. Obviously, we're
1 year at a time.
We do a year at a time.
Exactly. So we want to have the time to do the research, have our legal team review this before we come to you and say, let's do it for sure. But sure, we are going to be interested in that and investigate that, not because of the capital fund account, more so probably because of our operating. We do have a $5 million operating carryover there. And as you heard before, we are the same way. We have to carry the 3 months, and for us, it's just about $1.4 million.
Well, are you suggesting that the letter we got from the judge and the letter we got from the board, that we now take any action
We want more
right
time
now?
so legal counsel can.
And we can table, and again, I mean, I don't want, especially, you know, you folks here, I don't want you to think that we're coming down on you. mean, the problem is, I think, with the prior director, this is a conversation. I mean, what happens year after year, people come before us. I mean, Bainbridge was here this morning. I mean, I think a couple of you were here and heard that. You know, we say, there's a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And again, we were saying that to the prior director, who I don't think was completely upfront with the budget with us at times. At least was my experience last year. And now it's kind of coming to bear because you've exercised good fiscal management and you have this huge reserve. So I feel a little bad for you in the sense that it's a problem that you really didn't create, and it's been a problem that's building over time, and it's kind of landing on your lap. But I mean, we have to look at this big surplus of money, and you know, we have to treat you like we treat everybody else, and that's why we had the conversation with Bainbridge this morning. It's the same issues.
I think though we've got a new board and our interim director, and this is a bit of new ground. I don't think they were quite aware of last year's meeting conversation, and I guess the request is this is something worth pursuing, but we need a little more time so legal counsel and everything is done properly, so we can come back before you and make sure on our side of the table everything's been done right.
Michelle, what would the impact be of not collecting the 86 tax for 1 year?
A little over $800,000,
$832,265.
There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
$880,000.
Okay. So we're going to table their budget proposal.
Do you have to table the entire thing? Is that how?
Yeah.
It's all or nothing.
All or nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our only hammer is to not pass the budget.
When do you meet again?
We meet all the time.
And we
Every
meet
week we
yeah,
meet.
yeah.
So
We
it's
meet
not a timing issue.
No,
No, it's a timing issue for you guys. You want it done by September. Yeah.
but we can meet. We meet at short notice all the time.
Frankly, my concern from a budgetary perspective is any fund that has a 400% overage from the previous year's expenditures, that is too high. I will not support that. Now, the great thing is the construction fund, it's not funny money, but it's not levy money. It's all general fund money, so you can move it in and out at the drop of a hat.
It is levy money, but it's moved.
That's why I don't have an issue. I mean, I understand you don't like how they're doing the accounting, but to me, it
we'd like a
doesn't.
little time to digest it.
That's fine.
We understand that.
Well, I would move to. It sounds like the board's going to present a new proposal, so I would move to table.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
We have a moment for a
Oh,
question
I'm sorry.
from the floor.
You know, there are a number
Please
of...
identify yourself.
My name's John Augustine. I'm a Parkland Township resident
Yes,
in the
sir.
county. You know, there are a number of citizens here that'd like to comment about this situation. For one thing, park districts are not like any other agency.
Is there a question here?
Yeah, but I'd like to make a statement too. Can I
I'd
do
prefer
that?
I'd prefer you make a question. Otherwise, we could be here all day, and we have the rest of the county to take
Well,
care of.
I do have I don't have a question that can be just stated as a question. I'd like my viewpoint made.
Okay.
If you don't want to hear it, that's up to you.
Can you be very brief?
Sure. A park district is not like many other agencies that have a predictable expense from year to year. By the enabling legislation that the legislature passed back in 1917 or somewhere around there, the goal, the reason for park districts is to preserve open space, very special areas in the county. You can't predict from year to year when those parcels will be available. A good example was the Westwoods property. That cost $7 million. The park couldn't have bought that unless some wealthy individual came along and was good enough to put up that money when he did.
And I advised him in that process. I understand your point of view.
This is why park districts need a large fund, so that they have that money when an opportunity comes by, they can take advantage of that. That's why I would urge you to look upon those as differently than you would at many other agencies, just because of that very different nature of a park district.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other questions?
I would add a comment with that. Again, to give you some historical perspective, we have, the former directors coming in here and telling us that, $3.5 million or X amount is budgeted for property acquisition. Properties aren't being acquired, and these huge cash balances are being generated. And, again, at the end of the reason that we exist is for situations like this, that somebody needs to be looking at these different entities that get tax money and kind of drawing the line when enough is enough. And again, we're not here to micromanage operations of a township or a park district. We don't want to do that. But when it comes to the tax dollars, we really have to look at what your plan is. And when we're told there's a plan year after year after year, and we keep warning, and again, that's not these folks' fault, but we keep warning the director, listen, the money's building, we're going to do something. We're warning you. I mean, how many years was he warned?
They shouldn't be put into a position where they're forced to buy a piece of property that may not be worth.
Then collect less taxes. I mean, at some point we have to draw the line. So either collect less taxes or spend the money. But we can't have money taken out of taxpayers' pockets and being hoarded by political subdivisions. That's our job to make sure that doesn't happen.
I understand.
Okay, this is not a discussion, sir.
Yeah.
I understand.
What's your name, please, sir?
William McCullum, Newberry.
Okay.
Does your board or does the park board have the right to suspend collection of revenues that were voted on by the public?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. Those are two questions. Yes to
Yes,
both.
yes.
I'm surprised.
And
We
quite
have the right to
honestly,
request it, right?
quite honestly,
Yes.
with this kind of like the judge said, with this kind of carryover, it's a prudent thing to do. And I applaud you for even thinking about it.
Okay, the motion was made, duly approved. This hearing's over.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Take care.
Chris, come back again.
Frank,
Chris? Yes,